The Drunken Peasants Podcast had run for quite some time at this point, having its ups and downs with its fan base. The podcast during the adpocalypse had greatly expanded to new channels and a wide variety of premium content. Billy the Fridge was announced as fifth peasant at the very successful Seattle meetup. Times were looking great, but after an announcement that TJ, Paul, and TJ's brother were moving away to Louisiana, leaving Ben in Seattle, the fan base began to cry out and rise up in arms, concerned that this was the first step in the end of the beloved podcast. Once again, DP was going to go through a new crisis that would lead fans to much infighting amongst each other and the show in general. This scare would leave many fans wondering about the fate of their beloved podcast.
I hate the Drunken Peasants, they are a shitty podcast. All four of you scammers can suck my cock. They never listen to the whims of the fans, so let's start hashtag fuck Ben. When TJ was on Joe Rogan, Joe should have murdered him.
Episode 379 would be the last episode with the peasants all together in the studio before the announcement of the big move. And episode 380 would feature Ben with fifth host Billy the Fridge and Jeff Holiday. The move would have to be addressed early on the episode with the audience in a panic.
Doing what I said I was going to do, which
Scam
was
situation.
I had to talk about like what was going on.
666.
Oh man, you're so mean.
R.I.P.
DP is going on right now.
Yeah, this is the new. This is the seventh peasants.
Yeah,
You're the seventh peasants.
yeah, we got him on stage and declared him honor like.
It
was
I've
official.
been vetted in.
Yeah.
Like, I did the group blowjob thing and everything.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. I did the group blowjob thing, and they never announced me as an official. What the fuck?
You didn't
if you
give
would have
enough.
been there,
What can
we
I
would have
say?
let you in.
Many wondered why Jeff Holiday was not announced as sixth peasant, as he would also be covering for the main crew during their moving time. This, however, became quite clear later in the episode as Jeff defended one of the most hated DP villains of all time, Tommy Sotomayor, a man who had accused the peasants of being racist and had falsely DMCA'd the channel twice in the past.
He's garbage.
All right, I'll put it this way. The main reason why I still have some love for Tommy Sotomayor is
It's
the
Tariq
person
Nasheed.
the person who actually legitimately tried to take my YouTube channel down was
I'll tell you
Tariq
what.
Nasheed.
Oh, hold
Was
on.
Tariq Nasheed.
Can I tell you though, honestly,
Yeah.
Jeff, I'm your clone, as everyone says. My
that's true.
My channel was taken down by Tommy Sotomayor. So when Tariq Nasheed did his little video where he ran up, I don't like Tariq Nasheed. I'm not a fan. But,
no, fuck Tariq Nasheed.
but it was funny for me because I hated Tommy way more than Tariq. And I'm like, it was hilarious because he ran up on him like, oh, what, you say you're going to kill me? Go ahead and kill me. Where's the killing?
Where's the killing?
And he called him
Where's the
Crispy.
killing?
He's like, let your bald spot breathe, Crispy. And I was like, I'm sorry, that shit's funny. I know Tariq's a piece of shit.
I'll tell you flat out. So when Tariq Nasheed tried to take my channel down, Tommy Sotomayor, he stepped up. He fucking he slammed Tariq Nasheed, and I had a lot of love for that. If I have to, and I'll say it in full public view right now, Tommy, you've been cool to me. You ain't been cool to the peasants, and I
want to
know
tell
these
you.
people, so
The
I will.
enemy
I
of your
will-
enemy is not always your friend, though.
Jeff,
I will choose the peasants over Tommy Sotomayor. I will.
Jeff, I want to tell
out.
you something, and anyone can vouch for this. Tommy
Sure,
Sotomayor is the successful Brett Keane. Is what he is.
Yeah, well, I mean, I don't like what they did to the channel. Like, I remember that. It was fucking bullshit. It was totally bullshit.
I mean, I had just moved here and I was depending on things to go smoothly, and Tommy Sotomayor fucked everything up. He's a scamming piece of shit. He is Brett Keane. He's the Brett Keane that's better at speaking. He's a more eloquent Brett Queen.
Brett Queen.
Tom, I'm sorry, I drank the whole fucking 40. What can I do?
Slurricane.
Yeah.
Tommy, as a friend, we've been in the same fight together, Tommy. Leave the peasants alone. Leave them a fucking alone. Brother, can we just leave the peasants alone? Leave them alone.
Hey, Tommy, I support you. I support you, Tommy, on every level, Tommy, except when it comes to the peasants, Tommy. Then you're a faggot. Just say that, Jeff. Just say that.
But seriously,
Thus, this defense from Holiday showed why he wasn't announced as an official peasant, and that many would hold this and other things against Jeff. DP fan communities have been quite common since the start of the show, some rising and falling throughout the run, but it usually never was enough to bring a lot of attention to on the podcast. This time was quite different, however, with how integral these communities had been in the production of the show, as Discord was the best way for peasants to receive videos from their fans, to get into contact with fans, and to hold Patreon meetings with those who earned special perks. Several of the largest DP communities would break out into civil war, with power struggles and drama consuming these groups, such as the DP Discord and the DP Reddit. Though the autists at the Reddit were always at each other's throats, so this was nothing new to them. The sparking point for this had been centered around a member and creator of many of these groups, Apex of Fancy. Many moderators had begun scheming to take Fancy out of power, as apparently many did not like him. This drama exploded on the Discord server when the accusation that Fancy was a pedophile was circulating throughout the community after leaked private conversations that he was soliciting nudes from a minor. When this information leaked, of course people wanted to talk about it, since it was human nature to stir the drama pot, and to be curious, as those who didn't know were just curious about what was going on since they were a fan of the show. However, many were silenced on the DP Discord and told not to link to anything to do with the situation. This led many to speculate that there was a cover-up and that the DP hosts were looking the other way. Then, the question of Apex's mental stability was brought into question, with him threatening to commit suicide to manipulate people into doing what he wanted, as the DP communities were all he had. This was rubbing many moderators the wrong way in the community. Thus, they plotted against Apex after they thought the peasants were not addressing the issue in adequate time. A civil war broke out, and there were many casualties in the power struggle within the community. First, the Drunken Peasants wiki was taken down by Innos, one of the owners. Many not aware of this drama were very confused by this action, especially those historians who used it as a valuable resource to study the Drunken Peasants. Anyway though, the wiki was destroyed sadly and thus did not return after this incident. The Reddit was already exploding over this issue, and the Discord ignited in flames of fury. Apparently, mass bans and silencing was underway for anyone asking or discussing the drama around Fancy. This led to several of the mods rebelling against Fancy to create a new DP Discord, claiming that the community should not be led by a pedophile. Mass bans continued across the Discord, wiping out even those not involved in the drama. This historian himself can tell you that he was banned from some time for no reason from the Discord and watched as the server shut down all communication channels. Both sides of the moderation team, whether they were backing Fancy or against Fancy, began swinging the ban hammer at users for their own agenda during the time. When guests and friends of the show like Rybi Jenkins awoke to find themselves suddenly silenced on the DP Discord, a meeting was quickly held by her to try and salvage the situation, though many believed it was too late. The meeting quickly showed the problem of corruption throughout the moderation teams on the Discord, with Rybi being kicked from the channel by one of the more autistic mods from the Splinter Cell while this meeting was being held. Thus, Rybi used this incident to rally her army of white knights to defeat the old DP moderation leadership and to claim complete control of the Discord during the chaos for a short time. Benpai would deal with the issue as well, eventually taking ownership of the Discord community for DP and his channel Benpai. He discussed some of the drama and him wanting to put an end to it on one of his Benpai streams after dealing with the situation for most of his morning. It was quite easy to tell he had had enough with all of the work on remodeling the DP studio at this time, dealing with the main co-host departure, and running his Benpai channel, to have this come up on top of it.
So, this is all I'm going to say. I am now the owner of the Discord. That's all I'm going to say. So, here's what's going to happen. I've already addressed the issue. I've already taken care of everything. So, I'm going to ban you for annoying me if you keep bringing it up. Go to the Discord and look.
While the issue was somewhat resolved and Fancy stepped down from his leadership position, the divide this created in the community was great and still gave the opportunity for the Reddit community to complain about the whole issue. There was much more community drama at this time as well, but this one issue had the most impact specifically on the show and its fan base that was involved beyond just watching the show on YouTube. This event also divided many of the moderators and led to several leaving the podcast. The Drunken Peasants Podcast continued on with Billy and Jeff, and on episode 382, a new segment was aired at the start of the show which would have Billy listen to terrible raps and making him judge these works of art.
We're going to start off with my new favorite segment.
Oh.
And what it is I play cringy raps and and Billy cringes at them. And this is great.
God.
And you know,
how did you build an entire segment off of Billy the Fridge's discography? I don't get it.
Look at Scamtano.
You know what?
On episode 383, it was mostly another normal episode of DP, but drama was about to swoop in like winds from a hurricane to the podcast from Vadim Newquist, the pussy licker of Creationist Cat and the Women of Applebee's. Apparently, Vadim had been very bothered by his live appearance on the 24-hour special, in which he told a story of how he almost missed the show for an orgy with women at an Applebee's. Many did not believe his tale, and it became a running joke within the community to debate the validity of Vadim's story. This bugged Vadim, as evident by his appearance on the stream and the multiple hours he spent on the DP Discord defending his story after the fact. He had reached out to Ben to reappear on the show so that he could discuss the story again. Ben was too polite to tell him that he wasn't interested, but Vadim apparently did not get the hint. On this episode of DP, Vadim had been harassing many to get Ben to let him on the show during the stream.
Okay, I just want to address something really quick. Vadim,
Sure.
Vadim, I didn't plan to have you on the show today. Don't give me shit just because you live in Florida and there's a hurricane coming, okay? Like, seriously, dude. Don't send me messages giving me shit, trying to make me feel bad. Okay?
Hey, Vadim,
like, no one, like, we don't want to talk about the Applebee's thing now, okay?
Yeah.
We're talking about other things. We have other people on the show right now.
what we're going to need from you, Vadim,
So,
is
like,
to stay safe.
Yeah, so like Paul
Stay
isn't
safe.
here, TJ isn't here, Scotty isn't here. Those were the people who talked about it, so I don't understand why you want to come on now.
Yeah, is
Like-
the Applebee's gonna get ran over by Hurricane Irma?
I just
Videotape
don't
it?
understand why he's getting so offended. He's like sending me offended messages like he's mad. It's like, dude, get over it. I didn't plan to have you on the show right now. I'm not set up to have anyone else on the show right now. It's okay. It's not personal. I'm sorry that you live in Florida and you're gonna get hit by a fucking hurricane. I'm sorry, dude. But why does that mean I need to bring you on? I don't get it.
You had my wife and like copious amounts of people like messaging me on my phone to message. So I texted Ben.
Yeah.
We already handled it. Don't harass Ben. Leave him alone.
No, you know what, Vadim? I'm going to put my text number on live right now. Text me at 911 and we'll settle this, motherfucker. We will settle this shit man to man. You're not going to live long enough to see the fucking hurricane, dude, because you're going to go to Slit Wrist City. That's right. You're going to fucking Ann Hero. You fucking with a fridge right now. No, I'm kidding, guys. Go to Applebee's. No one, dick sucked by an old lady.
I mean, Billy was here, but he didn't really know much about the Applebee's thing. I mean,
is there a sequel to it? Did he almost get into another orgy?
He wants to come on and defend himself about it, but like
hardly anybody
hardly anyone else that was here when he told that story is here right now. So I don't see what the fucking difference is.
It's 3 months later. Look, who cares? We're over it. It was a meme. It was a meme 3 hours into the 24-hour
seriously,
show.
I personally said it could have happened.
Yeah, no,
I don't give a fuck.
The way you described it, I think it did happen because it was pathetic as fuck. We don't need to talk about it again.
I mean, like, don't get me wrong.
Don't get me wrong. What? If I was at Applebee's, I'd have fucked them all on a plate of riblets. You walking out with a limp dick, going to the 24 like, hey guys, I almost had an orgy with some old ladies, but craziest thing happened. They turned me down. Fuck you!
All right.
You pussy!
Vadim took to Twitter to play the victim card, just like he had accused users like Sargon of doing, who he made fun of constantly, as Sargon complained about SJWs using that card so many times before. Across Twitter, he shouted out about how much of a dick Ben was for not letting him on the show before he was to possibly die in an oncoming hurricane to defend his legacy on the show. He then had changed his story to that of wanting to be on the Peasants to talk about the coming hurricane, but it was too late. Many in the audience began to attack Vadim over Twitter, including people like TJ and Kyle Kalinske of Secular Talk. Vadim couldn't accept that he was wrong, especially as his hero Kyle had just called him a snowflake. On episode 384, TJ and Paul finally returned to the show after their Seattle departure. However, those spelling doom on the show began to call out the minor problems of audio quality and the old hosts having to use push to talk as reasons that the show was ending. Here, TJ and Paul would get to weigh in on the community drama, with TJ calling out some of the moderators who thought they got to dictate what the Peasants did with the show, because clearly, those who started their own communities online around their show got to dictate show policies. They would also address Vadim and watch one of his cringy videos in which it became so evident Vadim was just trying to get attention and to come on the show.
So, hey guys, what's up? It's Vadim. I'm putting on these Terminator X glasses because I really want to be taken super seriously right now. I'm about to be heading to the shelter not too long from now, so I thought I'd just fire off a really quick video. Because there's all this shit having to do with Applebee's and Drunken Peasants and everything.
There's nothing. There was no shit. There was no shit happening.
Okay, yeah, there's nothing. Listen, there's nothing happening. There's literally, it happened, and occasionally we reference it as a joke, and you've been butthurt about it, and other than that, nothing's happening. There's not some angry mob out there like, we demand to know the truth about what happened at the Applebee's! That's not happening. Quit acting like that's happening. It's never going to happen. No one gives a flying fuck, okay? It's just, Vadim said he saw an orgy at the Applebee's. I believe him, maybe. Well, whatever. But
and you know what? Judging from what he saw, I get it. You know, I mean, honestly, I do get it. Again, I think that there is genuine grounds for me to feel dissed. Maybe that's something that maybe we could talk about at some point on the Drunken Peasants, but for the record,
I think that's what it's about.
If Vadim's intentions was to redeem his image, this incident did just the opposite. Jokes are now constantly made about this drama around the Applebee's story, and just like his predecessor Dusty Smith, his relationship with the Peasants and their community collapsed, and he faded away into irrelevance within the dying atheist community. The show continued to worry fans as it was revealed the show wouldn't be returning to normal as the fans had been told. In this episode, it was revealed that the show would be returning to its Monday, Wednesday, and Friday schedule, with the podcast hosts rotating on different days.
Scam situation.
DP without the Kirks is all icing with no cake. Welcome back, scammers.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, we're going to try. I'm not sure exactly when it's going to take effect, but at some point we're switching back to a 3-show-a-week format, and it's going to be a somewhat alternating cast and shit, where it's going to be the Kirks on Monday, and then we can discuss the specifics later. But
yeah,
thus this led many to complain that they wanted the original host of the show back, and divisions were being made specifically around Jeff and Billy, some claiming they would not watch any episodes that did not feature the original cast. During this time as well, DP On Demand would have content expansions, as some had complained that it was not worth the price, as new content was not as frequent as they would have liked. New shows were to be specifically launched and aired on this platform, like Ask the Kirks and Roleplay with Paul the Ball. Again, times were unsure of where the podcast would go from here, and how the fan base would overall react to the massive changes to the show. The usual segments as expected on DP episodes continued, and a new man would now be covered called Spooky Max, after he was featured on a segment of Troll or Not a Troll on episode 387.
TJ, the Troll or Not a Troll for tonight is dedicated to you, because I know, a lot of Manson songs have been covered. Some are good covers, some really don't do it justice. Some are totally artistic depictions of what they felt the song could be.
I see.
And here's a cover of Lunchbox by Marilyn Manson. So here it is.
Okay, so is this the same fat guy playing the guitar and singing?
Yes,
I think so.
I think he needs to hit the crash cymbal a little harder and a little louder.
I think he needs to learn how to play an instrument or sing or have musical talent.
No, TJ, other than that crash cymbal problem, it sounds just like the Manson version to me. I mean,
it's just
identical.
Hold on,
Same.
maybe it gets better. Come on.
He would catch wind of this and respond to the accusations of being called a troll later on, and it would become clear that he especially cared what TJ thought of him. His videos would be featured from this point on, and questions about the love between Spooky and TJ began to circulate across the internet. Fans continued to be pushed to the belief that DP was ending, as on episode 389, the Peasants announced the DP Talent Search, a contest in which viewers could submit videos of them responding to videos for a chance to become a guest host for DP, and potentially one of the rotating hosts.
By the way,
there's also something we forgot to announce that we probably should. We're doing... we had a conversation, and we were asking ourselves, are there any talented people in our audience, anyone at all, that could possibly end up coming on the show and guest hosting? So
that's right.
We're doing an open casting call.
Oh yeah.
And we're gonna make it like a contest, and the winner's gonna get to host DP for an unpredetermined amount of time, possibly indefinitely. Who knows?
We'll see. We're looking for another peasant out there in the midst of our audience, and we haven't hammered out all the details of how we're gonna go about it. But I thought it would be interesting to at least put it out there that that is going to be a thing soon. The DP fucking talent search.
Reception for this was mixed, as not all of the talent from the community was always great. Many immediately thought of Patreon guests, and thus assumed that a new guest would probably be like that, and most Patreon guests were not well received. A large portion of the fan base as well enjoyed TJ on the show, and were already upset he was appearing less and less, and that a Patreon perk was now to just get him back on the show an additional time during the week. A new voice would join the podcast on episode 391, Joe, a friend of Billy the Fridge.
So a lot of people are asking about Joe, the cuck at the bottom, as they're calling him. You know, yeah. People in the chat. So I'm going to open up the chat to questions about Joe. Go ahead. Have at it, guys.
If it makes me a cuck to watch my wife get penetrated by a big, buff bowl of a man, then I don't want to be a non-cuck.
Yeah, the only reason I hang out with him is because he lets me bang his wife in front of him. It's a good trade. He gets to look at my tiny cock. I get to blow his wife out. Hi, Mom.
Let me just ruin you.
Child?
I'm seeing no big. How are you, Joe? Is the first question I see.
How old are you?
They want to date Joe. Joe, is Joe gay? If so, how old? And does he live in Florida?
All right.
Not saying everybody in Florida is gay.
One at a time. Ask anything. I'll answer. Also, for a parlor trick, name any movie. I can tell you the year it came out.
You big homo.
Joe,
American Pie. American Pie, Joe.
With the help of Google. What?
Joe, where did you first put your finger in Billy's butthole? That was a good question.
When or where?
Where?
Like at what point? Like he has more than one?
Someone said you're here to meet a diversity quota.
Yeah, they were like, you fit everything.
They said, hey, this podcast is getting a little Islamophobic. Let's get a Muslim on.
Give him a faggot haircut and just put him at the bottom.
Joe would receive mixed feedback with his introduction to the show, and some really enjoyed the humor and fresh perspective he brought to the show, especially for those finding the show stale as of late. Others did not like his humor or his immaturity and longed for the return of the original cast. The show continued to change and experiment with new things, but at the same time retread old forgotten ground with the return of lost segments and classic guests. A major change in the show had already been the return to 3 times a week, which started on episode 391. The information segment had returned, and sadly, feminist slam poetry as well. Also, cutting the fat was even more prominent now, as Ben attempted to get TJ to listen to some of his old, cringy poems.
I like how TJ's the page boy in that. Fucking great.
Good old page boy TJ.
Violence.
Violence
is the fruit that grows here.
The fruit that grows.
Blood red apple.
Blood
my
red apple.
dying sky blue.
I'm trying to hear myself talk. Scotty.
Dude, you know why? You know this is black and white. Well, it's black and white to be edgy, but there's another reason. If it was actually in color, you'd see how fucking yellow and nasty TJ's goddamn teeth are.
I was thinking the exact same thing.
Blue eyes. I fuck.
Is that why you made it black and white, TJ? Is that why you made it? Oh, no. Don't try to fight it. Watch this cringy video of you, TJ.
My inner child. I fucked my inner feelings.
I fucked my inner
God,
feelings.
TJ, why, dude? What is this fucking terrible poetry? Why did you put this on the internet?
Oh, let's see some of your... Man, you used to write fucking poetry.
Yeah, but you know what? I was smart enough to keep that shit off of the internet.
You got a point.
That's what I'm saying to you, dude. Like, hey, yeah, write bad poetry all fucking day, but put it into a fucking journal or some shit where it's like, you can go back 10 years later and go, God, why did I write this?
You guys just don't want to admit that I'm the greatest poet of all time.
You know what, guys? If we get more than 1,000 likes or whatever it is, let's
We
fucking
already
go back.
did.
We already did. Let's go to fucking Wayback Machine. Let's find some of TJ's old poetry.
You know what? I got a bunch of old poems of mine in my fucking room. I can go find a cringy ass poem and do a live reading if you want.
Yeah, let's do it, dude.
I'll be right back.
Fucked myself to death with a branch from this twisted.
He just wants to leave while we play this shit.
Yeah, you can't handle it, dude.
See how he volunteered to leave the room?
I'll go read my bad poetry, guys. I'll go read it. It's okay. See you later.
Guests like RPG Minx, Mercedes Carrera, Caseytron, Armored Skeptic, and Mundane Matt were all prominent guests brought on during this time. Having the rotating panel of hosts did help bring on guests during this time, as it gave more room for the guests to talk during the episodes. On episode 395, the show continued to grow and change, with this being the first episode now streamed on Twitch as well as YouTube, and a new promotional intro was created for the changes that were occurring to the DP Patreon. Episode 399 would be a major highlight of this era of DP, as thanks to fan outreach, a debate was set up between two prominent YouTubers. The first, Kyle Kalinske of Secular Talk, who was a prominent figure within the Justice Democrats. He would face off against Razorfist, a conservative YouTuber and Donald Trump supporter. The debate would be on various issues and arguing basically around the liberal or conservative positions. Who overall performed better? Well, of course it was Kyle, who basically stomped all over Razorfist with a variety of statistics and studies for his positions, whereas Razorfist basically had personal opinion and stories. It was a very exciting debate, which led to many great moments like this.
And of course, he pulled us out of the Iran deal, which makes it much, much more likely that Iran gets a nuclear weapon. And I could go on, but I'll leave it there because I've probably filled up all my time.
You actually have 2.5 minutes left if you want.
Okay, step aside. First day in office, you reversed a middle-class tax cut.
Yeah, if the argument is more guns equals more crime, someone's going to have to explain to me why gun ownership is currently
No. More gun deaths. More guns equals more gun deaths. Not more crime. More gun deaths.
Yeah, and there's where you get into gun death statistics invariably include suicides, which is a very important metric.
Well, no, but I just told
62% of all gun deaths. 62% of all gun deaths are suicide.
He's misstating what I said. That's why I'm correcting him.
Well, you're gonna have to wait until he's done to correct him.
So let him misstate it.
Yep.
People had enjoyed and longed for more debates like this, as the show used to feature them prominently from the earliest eras of the show. Sadly, episode 400 would not live up to the great debates of the past. This episode already received some complaints for not being anything special, despite the announcement that the big episode would instead be episode 420. Episode 400 would guest star Jeff Holiday and JF, who had had some drama that many had seen on Twitter. The two awkwardly began episode 400 bickering with each other. Whereas the episode before the debate was structured and the subject was clear, this one was sloppy, and the live audience was very lost and bored during this time.
Actually, I have a lot of questions for you too. So one of the main problems that we have here too, the DP community seems to have this problem. You seem to have changed quite a bit since you were a beloved guest. You haven't been on for a while. I think it's not since what was it? April? It's about April, wasn't it?
Can I ask my question?
Actually, no, you can't.
Okay.
Let's go tit
so
for
this
tat.
is not surprising.
Yeah, we can go tit for tat.
Hold on.
We can go tit for tat.
Yeah, hold on. Okay, so who goes first, Scotty?
I'd say Jeff, why don't you finish, and then JF, you ask your question. I'm sure it's a thought-provoking question. JF always has good questions. He's a good little goblin.
Sure, absolutely. Okay, so my main question is, what is the impetus that has caused you to open up a dialogue with very notable people in the alt-right? What attracts you to wanting to speak with them?
Oh, well, I'm interested in any human being who has respectable opinions, and so I listen to them. I look at what they have to say. I look at the truth of what they have to say.
So why do you Dave Rubin on them?
Sorry, what?
Why do you go Dave Rubin on them? You're a biologist. You're a biologist, but you don't challenge anything that they say. You had the alternative hypothesis on, and you didn't challenge a single thing that he said.
Well, first, that is not true. I didn't challenge his factual statements. So his factual statements, I didn't challenge them because they are true. Unless you want here to prove that the alternative hypothesis is wrong about some of their interpretation, I'd be happy to address this. But as far as I know,
a physiological phenotypic type of a brain that is present specifically in white people that makes him libertarian, and he states this full force in your stream with you, and you did not address it whatsoever. You left it completely unchallenged. Why would you do that?
That is a straw man. He never stated this on my show.
Yes, he did. I watched it literally right before we started. Maybe you should go back and reacquaint yourself with your own actions, the things that you yourself have actually done. That would be maybe beneficial.
What he raised is an hypothesis, which is absolutely viable, which is there are certain political behaviors that are
PhD in biology.
My sentences, guys, because
episode 400 would thus kick off a hiccup in the time stream, as DP was about to tread old waters in show quality. As of late, the podcast was suffering in quality and an identity crisis. There were a great many complaints still about the lack of the original hosts in the episodes, and those upset by this were upset that it appeared the 4 hosts being together was being kept behind a paywall in the private shows. Even when the original hosts were present, many complained that the hosts were just phoning it in, as the energy from them wasn't there as much as it had once been, and that instead of seeming like a natural conversation with friends, the show was just going through the routine and segments that were expected. The Streamlabs segments were also getting even more backlash. As with the show changing to 3 times a week, the podcast had yet to balance this segment with the shortened episode length. While there was a statement that Streamlabs wouldn't take away from the 2 hours of actual show, this wasn't the case for some episodes, and many still felt a large portion of the show was just shilling for money where actual content should be. This issue of show quality would blow up after episode 403, which would be like throwing a match into a gas barrel. This would have fans in an uproar not seen since the kayfabe era. In this episode, Joe, for the first 20 minutes of the show, beelined for TJ's brother, insulting and taking the piss out of him, mainly because he was upset for the Kaiser not getting 2 jokes he had made on the last episode the 2 were on.
So, any more news clips?
Any more wonderful fucking quips, Joe? Joe, why don't we just let's stop the show, guys. Joe, why don't you just make every quip so we can actually do a show? So go ahead.
Thank Christ! Shut the fuck up, Scotty. We've been waiting 400 episodes for this.
Joe,
we've been waiting 400 episodes.
I'm waiting for your quips. I'm waiting. I'm here waiting.
Well, shut up and I'll give them. We've been waiting 400 episodes for you to shut up, man. It's about fucking time, and now you're giving me the floor. God damn it. We've been waiting for a voice. First off, let's start with this discourse thing. Is it discourse or Discord?
Discord.
All right. I looked it up on Ask Jeeves. I found it. Now, I don't think it's good. I don't think the product you have is good. I think what you need is somebody with a big old fucking dick. That's why I'm here. It's 4.5 inches. Which, comparatively speaking, is the biggest on here. Now, Scotty, you're a cuck. Through and through. It's on your body language. Last week, I made 2 jokes. They both went over your head. One, I did the
fucking jokes. Joe feels like he's entitled for every joke of his to be funny.
Your jokes.
This is ridiculous.
I don't get it.
They were shit, but he didn't get them because the way he appropriated them is serious.
Joe, am I gonna have to kick you off the show?
Wow.
Do it with your foot.
After the 2 butted heads throughout the first part of this show, eventually the Kaiser would take a page out of his brother's book and rage quit the show.
No one wants to see you twerk.
Yeah, what? Ben, what the fuck is Joe doing here? Like, I really don't like Joe on the show. I'm just being. This is no kayfabe. Like, if I'm done. I'm not doing the show tonight. Joe is a fucking idiot. No, I'm not doing it.
Bye, Scotty, quitter.
No, that's fine.
You're the reason DP is dying.
No,
it's already dead.
No, I don't want to do the show with this fucking piece of shit. Good night.
Rage quit. Rage quit. Rage quit. What a faggot. His girlfriend even needed to fight him to stay on. Best thing that's ever happened to your show, though.
All right, so we're gonna take a break, and we'll be right back.
The fuck?
The show was on break awkwardly for 5 minutes, with fans unsure of what was going on, and a decent portion believing that this entire thing was kayfabe. It was clear at this moment this would be the next episode 307, and sides were already forming as to whether this was kayfabe or genuine. TJ's brother was back after the break, and it was announced Joe had been fired. Throughout the rest of the episode, Joe, who was still in studio, would make noises in the background and try to get on camera, and basically act like a child without his ADHD medicine, eventually leading Billy to kicking him out of the studio, and later Ben kicking him in the balls for punishment.
All right, Joe, tell me, what are you doing right now?
You kicked me in the dick.
And because... To atone? Yeah, go ahead and say what you said to him just a second ago.
You can't atone for your failures tonight by letting Ben kick you in the dick. This is not the easy out. You have to work hard to prove you're not a dick. Whatever. You want my grandma weed?
Oh, no.
My grandma's weed isn't that good.
All right, here we go.
Oh! Holy shit!
Some after this episode that did believe this was genuine took the side of Scotty, thanking him for speaking up against Joe and getting him off the show, as they believed he took away from the show and what it was supposed to be about. Others were upset Joe was fired, as they enjoyed his banter and saw it as nothing different when the main host picked on others that were on the show. No matter what side you picked, again, a large portion of fans were upset at the show, thus leading many to rage about DP. This episode again reignited the debate over Apex of Fancy in the DP Discord server. The DP Discord server had recently been made for patrons only, which was not well received by people who were not patrons. And also, it was revealed Apex of Fancy still seemed to have some sway within the moderation staff at the DP Discord, this rubbing some people the wrong way as well. Rybi Jenkins, who had taken the side of #Team Joe, was banned from anything related to DP, and removed from moderating from places such as the DP chat. Even those who had deeply hated the goddess even began taking her side as they witnessed the pathetic back and forth as TJ's brother threw his temper tantrum on Twitter. The subreddit was really blowing up over this one, guys, with many threads on the Scotty versus Joe issue. There were also many comments on the rotating hosts using this as an example as to why to return to the original cast, with even some wondering if the show should just end while it was ahead. The Kaiser would offer a public apology later to Rybi, but she was never reinstated to the moderator position, leaving that aspect of the conflict unresolved and leading some to wonder how genuine the apology was. After the Kaiser's fall from power, the show continued to decline. In an episode to appease a fan base that was beginning to rise up against the show, episode 404 was the first to feature all 4 peasants in some time. However, adequate time to prepare and test everything before was not given, and the episode was delayed in going live for over an hour. The constant delays enraged the live audience, who would schedule around their podcast, leading the dislike ratio to lands unseen. Luckily, the show received better ratings once the episode had aired from those happy to see the original cast and those that did not care about the delays, or they were not even live viewers. However, many live viewers were still displeased, and this wouldn't be the only thing they would be upset about. Episode 401 had featured Dick Masterson, a popular podcaster and entertainer with one of the largest Patreon accounts on the site. He appeared a few episodes before Maddox, an old co-host of Masterson. The two had a falling out and parted ways, but drama was still strong between the two, mainly focused on Dick sleeping with Maddox's ex 3 years after they separated. Many did not like Maddox and compared his actions to that of Steve Shives. Maddox was a popular YouTuber once, and TJ had been a fan from those days. While he pushed for Maddox to be on the show and was excited to have him guest star, clearly the audience felt differently. The dislike ratio of the episode once again hit that 50% area, and it wasn't just because of the fans not liking the guest or finding him boring, which still was the case for some. This time the peasants themselves were under attack. In an attempt to make Maddox feel more comfortable, as he apparently couldn't take the slightest bit of criticism, the Streamlabs were censored so rude comments or uncomfortable questions couldn't get through. While DP may have had the right to do this, not announcing this to their fans was the problem here. The episode still opened the Streamlabs segment as normal, and the host expected a lot less Streamlabs to be censored. However, many were, so much that fans did notice. The censorship wasn't perfect though, and one great Streamlabs got through for those who knew Maddox's history with Dick.
All right.
Yeah. So I just ended it because they're not coming through. We're gonna have to go through the list and like reevaluate, what we've got on it and everything.
We're gonna have to.
Episode.
Oh, here's one that came through. TJ, what would you do if Ben banged your ex from 3 years ago? That's his prerogative. I ain't lay no claim to that no more. Who fucking cares?
You don't give a fuck, dude. It's water under the fucking bridge. I mean,
I don't understand people who get mad if someone bangs their ex.
What if someone banged your ex from 10 years ago? Would you then be mad?
Well, yeah, obviously.
Slightly less.
It's our 10th anniversary.
I can't believe one came through all of a sudden.
DP refunded all of the Streamlabs made this episode with accusations of being scammed flying everywhere, and even Dick offering refunds on behalf of DP. However, this wasn't enough for some, as they were displeased that the host, who often argued against censorship on platforms, had secretly censored their own audience. Some had suspected the worst for this era of DP, and while there were some enjoyable moments, overall this time period shares many common threads with the dark ages of kayfabe. However, this era of the show seemed to suffer from greater fan outrage and viewer losses. It is unclear how much those numbers were affected by the show quality, as the adpocalypse was going on during this time. Some even calculated and estimated that the DP Patreon had declined over the last few months, though some said the drop-off corresponded to the end-of-the-month drop-off that was natural when credit cards had expired and not been renewed. There was still a drop-off, though, and growth was halting in the podcast. Clearly in the comments, fans were displeased in the direction the show had taken during this time. The fans were divided on whether they backed or hated Jeff, if Joe should return or should he be fired, but no matter the side, it was usually against the show's direction. The largest complaint seemed to be that the show had tired and was no longer true to what made fans fall in love with the show. The revealed censorship in the fan communities and on the show did not help smooth things over, with the audience not enjoying the program as they once had. Segments seemed stale and too much like a formula now, just going through the motions of troll or not a troll, DP action news, and then on to crazy people. The host didn't always seem to bring the A game for the show and seemed to be tired of the routine as well, which with over 400 episodes 3 times a week was understandable. However, if the host of DP came across as not wanting to watch the show, why would an audience member want to watch? It was clear either the show had to change and excite the host again in order to keep the fans happy, or it was surely doomed. Episode 409 would have an important announcement for the fan base.
So I've been teasing people, TJ, telling them that we're making changes.
Changes.
So, yeah. What are we willing to say about the changes?
We're gonna be we're gonna be taking next week off. Well, not really off. We're just gonna be taking some time to work on the show. What that's going to mean is there's going to be some new segments on the show. There's going to be a return to some older segments that maybe we discarded along the way. There's going to be changes to the format to where, every episode is not quite so rigid in its structure so that it can be a little bit more surprising. We're going to take some elements of the Hypothesis show that we used to do and kind of start pulling that in a little bit. I'm going to be on more shows, and there's going to be a lot of big changes like that. It's going to be good, I think. But we'll see. Much more specific announcements will happen. Let me just check the calendar here. On Monday the 27th when we return. So be a lot of big stuff going on. We're going to be spending the next 10 days or so just kind of working on the show, getting it back up to snuff. Because, we know that some of the shit here has gotten a little stale. We're going to fix that shit. And that's pretty much it.
So a week-long break from DP began, and in the background, changes were beginning to take place. The DP scare seemed to be coming to an end, and the fans were now setting down their pitchforks after this announcement and looking for peace. But they were still cautious after all of the drama from this era of the show. It is hard to summarize and blame one event as the reason for the decline between the peasants and their fan base. Most likely, a little bit of each of the negative events during the DP scare built upon another that led to this crisis. Time would tell after the break, when the podcast returned, how the fans would react to the changes and the future fate of the Drunken Peasants Podcast.
Move $5, start my own show, make $5. I'm telling you, they used to be perfect. Now I only watch inebriated discussions, the superior version. Get fucked, DP. Do exactly what I want when I want, and you get my $5 Patreon donation back, bitches. I'll see you in the Brett Keane hangout. At least he has standards.
You're a bunch of dirty ass losers.